Hi friends! Today I want to talk to you about the 20 fabulous reasons why it's a good idea to get or own a greenhouse. When I talk to people about, how I was having a goal of trying to get a greenhouse, a lot of people would be like, oh, okay, why is that? Just to, grow some, plant starts for the spring, or, just to kind of keep your, plants going a little longer in the fall, and beyond that, pretty much I didn't get any other answers. And so while those are two fabulous reasons, there are actually another 18 more because greenhouses are so cool. They're just so cool and so versatile. So I want to share with you my favorite 20 reasons why it is a good idea to own or have a greenhouse. The first one, like I mentioned, is to grow garden starts. And so that can be a really good thing to do in the spring to save a ton of money, grow a bunch of garden starts. You can get a better variety from the stuff that you can get from seed rather than, only buying your garden starts. But yeah, so you can grow a much wider variety of things from seed than you can buy from the garden starts in the stores. So not only are they cheaper, but you can also get a better variety, which is fabulous. And then the second one is, so you can grow in your off seasons, as the other reason I already mentioned. The next one would be seed starting with the intention of selling them. I have done several plant, sale videos. I talked about a plant sale I did an updated video later on, and then I did a 3-part series on some plant sales, how I actually do it from, start to finish, planning out everything, seeding, planting the seeds, how I transplant them, marketing them, pricing, advertising. I pretty much went through the whole thing, and I even gave numbers on how much I made. And so it's definitely a business where, around here at least, there is a lot of, people who are looking for that sort of thing, especially in the market that I was trying to target, which is people who wanted, them for cheaper. But I also had a friend who was doing them, and selling them organic. So she was, going to the niche of the all organic community, and she made a lot more than I did. So she definitely chose a good niche there. So if you can find a niche, provide something to the people that, isn't being provided, you can definitely make some good money there. So your greenhouse can be a moneymaker. And speaking of it being a moneymaker, you can actually sell your produce and or microgreens or different things like that. So having your greenhouse in place, you can grow some produce, especially in the off seasons when the rest of the backyard gardeners are, done with theirs. They can still get homegrown, produce, and, you can make some money on that. So having your greenhouse can definitely be a good investment from that perspective as well. Since you can start earlier and grow longer, you save more money. You can obviously grow more when you're starting earlier and going longer. So in addition to it being growing in the off season, like I mentioned earlier, the off season, depending on the type of greenhouse you have, will probably be able to just grow certain, types of varieties depending on where you live. But here in Colorado, where we get, negative 20 degree, Fahrenheit temperatures, which is what, like negative 38, I want to say, Celsius. Very cold temperatures. It's very difficult to keep something like a tomato growing, in January. So when we can grow in our off seasons, it's mainly things like greens or other cold hardy crops and things like that. However, when you have your greenhouse in place, it can be like March and you can plant your tomatoes, whereas everybody else is waiting until May. Or, you have your tomatoes and everybody else's are dying in October because you get, your hard freezes, whereas I would be able to and have successfully gotten them, to go another 2 months longer than that. So it's not just growing in the off season, it's being able to start certain crops, probably even like the more useful ones, or at least, the more popular ones, stuff like tomatoes and bell peppers and cucumbers and things like that. All of those you can start earlier and keep going longer, and so you obviously grow more and you can save more money. So that's obviously fabulous, right? You can grow all year long, so you have basically a never-ending gardening season. You can be more self-reliant and independent with your greenhouse because you are able to grow all year long. You can not have to go to the grocery store and things like that for all of these, produce, or even save money just like, stocking up on staple items, but then growing your fresh food at home all year instead of it just being certain times a year. or having to rely on things that are always frozen or canned or things like that. You can still have things fresh, because obviously there's definitely a benefit to having, some fresh tomato to be able to throw on your sandwich or whatever, instead of it always being canned, which I don't know anyone who puts canned tomato on their sandwich. So yeah, having the independence and self-reliance of being able to produce that sort of stuff yourself is obviously great. You can overwinter plants that would otherwise die. So I do have a few plants that, do go dormant, and so they'll lose their leaves, like my fig tree or whatever. And so, having some plants that would otherwise, die if I were to put them outside, I can bring them inside, or different types of flower bulbs and things like that. We live in zone 5B, but say I had a flower bulb that was hardy to zone 7, I could plant those in my greenhouse and I could overwinter those because it won't get as cold in the greenhouse. Connected to that, you can even grow even cooler plants that you wouldn't normally be able to grow, that aren't the type that need to be overwintered, but actually just continue to grow. So this would be things like banana trees or citrus trees, figs, avocados, all these different things. I mean, here in Colorado, that's unheard of for anybody to be able to grow plants like that. But if you had a greenhouse, you can successfully grow plants like that. They can get really big, and so it's a nice place for them to just go and take over instead of it being in your house. And so, yeah, depending on where you live and what kind of climate you have and what type of greenhouse you build, you can successfully grow, plants that you would never, be able to grow otherwise in that greenhouse. Obviously, super exciting. Greenhouses can be a fabulous place to hang out. So you go in there and it feels like it's summer even in November or in March or even February, depending on how sunny it is. So that's great for those of us who enjoy the summer weather. Being able to simulate that kind of a area where there's all these plants growing and everything, where outside you're buried under snow, is great. And while you're hanging out in there, you're obviously getting some sun. So it's a healthy place to hang out too, because when we get sun on our skin, our bodies can make vitamin D, which is super healthy for us. It can help boost our immune system. It can help keep us from getting sick, which is great. And so, yeah, definitely not only a cool place to hang out, but a place to, even get healthy while we're at it. It can be a good place to help beat the winter blues and to be mood boosting. Having that place where you can kind of go and hang out and get that sun definitely helps your mood. And so for those that get seasonal affective disorder, or also known as SAD, when you kind of just get, kind of not grumpy, but just not as, upbeat and perky, not as happy, during the months of like, January and February, even December, March, depending on how severe it is. But it can help boost your mood and keep you, in a upbeat and positive, happy attitude, which is obviously great for not only us, but for the people in our lives and our family as well. It can add a tremendous amount of value to your property. So a greenhouse can be a great investment. So even while it can cost some money to put in, you get that money back if or whenever you were to sell the house. So yeah, adds a ton of value to your house and definitely is a good investment. A greenhouse makes for a good solar dehydrator in summer, so it can frequently get a little bit warm, and so what people will do is have, some kind of a fan or something like that that helps exhaust the air, and so having it be a little bit warmer in the summer, and with the air moving, it's a great place to just go and dehydrate some, fruits and vegetables and other things you have from your garden. So if you don't own a hot dehydrator, but you have a greenhouse, you own a dehydrator now. And for those that like to sweat, maybe if you like, going to the steam room or the sauna, those sorts of things at your gym or wherever else, a greenhouse, if you close the windows and turn off the vent fan, can get very warm. And so it can be a nice little solar sauna for those that like to sweat out their toxins. Having a greenhouse is a totally fun hobby. Like, it's totally a fun thing to do, which leads into my next one. It's a good way to make new friends. So people that, enjoy the same hobbies as you, it's a great way to be like, hey, come out and hang out in the greenhouse, or let's start some seeds together. And then you grow some for yourself and they can grow some for themselves, and The next one is it's also a healthy place to be because you get a lot of really clean and fresh air in a greenhouse. The plants help clean the air. They take the toxins out of the air. They obviously make a lot of oxygen, which plants breathe out oxygen but breathe in carbon dioxide. We breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. And so it's this wonderful symbiotic cycle where we go and we hang out with the plants, we give them the carbon dioxide that they want, they give us this super healthy oxygen to breathe, and the air is cleaner. And so that's wonderful too. Nice place to get some nice fresh clean air. And especially if you attach the greenhouse to your house, then you can even vent a lot of this air into your house, and then the high carbon dioxide air can get transferred back into the greenhouse, which helps the plants grow. So not only is it just a place to get fresh air, but it can actually help freshen and clean the air in your house too if it was attached to your house. And speaking of which, the next two are going to be specific to places where you are able to have a greenhouse that's attached to your house. But again, there was 18 good reasons to have a greenhouse even if you couldn't. So the last two are specific to, those attached greenhouses. It can help add some helpful humidity in the winter. Here where I live in Colorado, it does get kind of dry, and so it can wreak havoc on your hair, your nails, your skin, these types of things. And so greenhouses can be a little bit more on the humid side. It can be beneficial to help, exhaust that humidity into the house. In areas where there is too much humidity, though, it can be controlled, just with some different, components and different things like that, even exhausting some of the air, especially in the morning when the humidity is high, to the outside, but then the rest of the day it's not so bad. So again, you don't have to only have, your greenhouse in an area where it's dry in order to, have an attached greenhouse. And my favorite reason, I saved my favorite reason for last, is that it can provide free heat. Now I know a lot of you who are watching this have probably seen my videos. My video, which is by far my most popular video, how to heat your house with a greenhouse. My last house, I had a greenhouse attached to the house, and it cut my heat bill in half, literally overnight. So the greenhouse gets warm, it traps all that heat, so on a sunny day, the greenhouse is getting warm. By having that house attached, or the greenhouse attached to your house, you can vent that, fresh, clean air with a little bit more humidity, and it's nice and warm into your house in the wintertime. So obviously that was a great benefit to us. It saved a ton of money on our bills, and when we moved, I was really sad to have to move away from the greenhouse, and so that's why I'm planning on building a greenhouse here as well, so that we can get all the benefits of the greenhouse we had before, except even better, because the other one was really small, and the greenhouse that we are currently building right now, is 10 by 34, I want to say, whereas our old greenhouse was 4 by 10, so much smaller. So mega huge greenhouse. It's going to be epic and awesome, and I'm super excited to take you along on this journey. So if you are into greenhouse videos, or if you have any interest in learning how to build a greenhouse, or even just learning about them in general, you're not going to want to miss this series. It's going to be coming up here soon. For those of you who are watching this and you're like, I'm not really into greenhouses, that's okay. What I do is I put out my financial videos, the ones that are more about money and debt and things like that, budgeting, that sort of stuff. I put those out on Tuesdays. And then on Fridays, I put out different ones, ones about children or family or, homesteading, or in this case, it's going to be the greenhouse videos. So look for those coming up here very shortly on Fridays, and I'm going to be doing a very comprehensive, video series on how to plan and build a wonderful solar greenhouse. Solar meaning it's heated completely by the sun, where you can actually grow lots of, plants that you would never normally be able to grow all year long, and it's going to be fabulous. So you're definitely not going to want to miss it. So I would love to hear from you. Do you have any interest in growing, in greenhouses or having a greenhouse? And if so, which one of these reasons is your absolute favorite? I can't wait to hear from you. So I hope to see you on Fridays from here on about this whole greenhouse series and building it and planning the best greenhouse ever. So thanks for joining me. I'm Frugal Green Girl, and we'll see you next time.